Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at this Apple Watch Series 10 that was sent in for repair. And this is the message that I got with it. Watch only shows symbol and charger base with a red lightning bolt and only went on the charger. I've tried multiple chargers and left it on the charger for extended periods. This began after getting in a lap pool for 20 minutes with the water lock turned on prior to entering pool. Watch was 13 months old at the time, 1 month after expiration of manufacturer's warranty. Now, of course, the manufacturer's warranty does not cover water damage, but this watch looks impeccable from the outside. If you didn't know better, you wouldn't know that you got water in it. Let's see if I can fix it, see what it's going to take. Let's get started.
So this is an Apple Watch Series 10, 46mm. The titanium case, sapphire crystal, GPS and LTE. Supposed to be water resistant up to 50 meters. To be opening it, I'm going to be using this curved screen disassembler tool. And given that this is a sapphire, the gap is even smaller, so I have filed the edge of this to be even thinner so that I can slide it into the gap here and push it down. I'm going to use a little bit of isopropyl alcohol to help it go down into that gap, along with a piece of plastic. This is an OCA protector, which I can wedge down inside to help it break up the adhesive. And then with enough persuasion, we can get the plastic under there and start to slice around the edge. And then we can finally start to see some separation there. We'll work around all the sides until the screen pops off. If you go in too deep with even this plastic, you could potentially harm the flex cables for the display. You got to be careful and not drop the watch. And then we'll lift it up a little bit to reveal those little flex cables. I'm going to add some isopropyl alcohol under them, and that'll help release the adhesive that holds it down. And we can get our first look inside, and we can definitely see some evidence of water damage right there. There's a little bit right there under the connector. I see a little bit of evidence down in that corner next to the battery. On top of the battery here, a little bit. So I don't know how flooded this got. We'll add some more isopropyl alcohol and carefully, without tugging on the cables from the motherboard, we'll slowly peel this off. Adding more alcohol along the way. And that'll get us to the point where we can flip up the flaps and disconnect the connectors. We gently get under the sticker there, pull it back. Same on this side. We'll flip up the flaps and then gently pull out those. And we can see some corrosion on the flex cable there, which means the inside of the ZIF connector also might have issues. So this is stuff we can address. Let's take a look at the rest of the watch. We've got some corrosion there on that connector for the battery. Let's start by taking off the bracket for the battery connector. And it looks like the battery connector completely corroded off. It's no longer there. It's down inside the other connector. So that would explain why it would stay at just the red lightning symbol, as in the watch is trying to charge, but it's not. And even the little antenna there corroded off. The speaker, you can see a ton of rust on the inside there. All right, let's go ahead and pop out the battery real quick. I'm just going to use the back of my tweezers here for a little bit of tension. We'll add some drops of isopropyl alcohol under to help loosen up the adhesive. And we'll slowly and gently pry on it, giving it a little bit of tension. And that should allow it to start to separate and come out without wrinkling too much. There we go. Battery is out. Looks like we got a little bit of evidence down under the Taptic engine. And the main board battery flex with the battery connector inside of it will lift off with the Taptic engine. And to help start breaking up that corrosion, I'm going to add a drop of isopropyl alcohol. Alright, after taking out the 3 screws for the Taptic engine as well, we can gently lift it up. I'm going to add a drop of isopropyl alcohol to the speaker flex and separate it so we can lift the Taptic engine all the way. And then we'll peel back the sticker for the little ZIF connector. And out comes the Taptic engine. It's got quite a bit of corrosion on it. So who knows what the inside looks like. It's like we've got quite a bit of corrosion around the speaker connector. Let's peel up the sticker. And yeah, right under that connector, tons of corrosion. You can see how dark that flex got there. Let's quickly take out the speaker, because I think that's the culprit. I think that's where the water went in. went into the speaker. Look at that, the metal just sheared away. And out comes the speaker. You can see that it either came into the microphone or the speaker slot, but it got fairly rusted pretty quick. Yeah, that definitely doesn't look good. This connector's got quite a bit of corrosion on it, so I'm going to let it soak a few times with alcohol before I try to do anything. Alright, so let's turn our attention to the power button. Take out that bracket. We'll disconnect everything. Alright, so in order to get the motherboard out, we have to basically get all of these flex cables up, including this teeny one right here for the microphone. We'll pull back that sticker, flip out the little flap. Looks like it's held down with some adhesive. So we'll add some isopropyl alcohol under it and lift it up so we can slide it out. There's a weird spacer here on this flex cable that's going to prevent it from moving where I need it. So I'm just going to pull it off real quick. Now that flex cable will fold out of the way. That one's out of the way. Alright, now the goal hopefully is to pop up this connector without it popping the one off the motherboard. And of course, it does not want to. It's just too corroded. And if anything, this is a good teardown video. We'll take out the screws for the brackets that hold down the motherboard. And all of the stickers cover on the side are covering up the screws. But if you know where they are, you can just simply poke into the sticker with the screwdriver and back the screws out. And that bracket will come off. And then theoretically, the motherboard should be free now. So let's go ahead and pop it up. I think the corrosion is holding on to it, so I'm going to add a little bit of isopropyl there. Alright, and we're popping up. And it looks like the water did make it below, but more cosmetic than anything, as far as I can tell. You can see all of the rust down there, the discoloration, the corrosion, oxidation. The charging unit is completely intact. The connector was not touched, which is great. Evidence of where the liquid was here. We've got a few repairs if we want to fix this. That antenna needs to be fixed. This connector needs to be attended to. There's some surface corrosion that can be cleaned. Rust needs to be cleaned. This can get a nice little cleaning. It might be possible to salvage the battery. And there we have the Apple Watch torn down. We could go a little bit further and remove the power button, the microphone, and even the crown, but that requires a special tool, a wrench to get in there. There's a little nut in there that if you get the wrench on, you'll be able to then wind off the crown, and then this will come off. We could separate the back glass from the frame. Otherwise, this is a full teardown. Bunch of little screws and bracket to keep in order. What do you think? Is this fixable? Alright, so here's where we left off. We have the display connector to work on. The battery connector I've already worked on because this battery is still good. However, I might as well just replace it. So I've got a new battery for this watch. And on the motherboard, after working on these two connectors, we go ahead and just simply replace the battery flex cable with a new one instead of trying to salvage and fix the old one. Down inside here, I have this little connector that I salvaged that we need to put in this corner. I still need to work on this annoying flex cable just to make sure it works. It's annoying because it's just jammed in there and there's no getting it out. And there's the little connector that I need to put back. The speaker and the loudspeaker, given how rusted and damaged it looks, I'm also just going to replace it with a new one. The Taptic engine looks okay. And I thought that this had popped away from something, so I did get a new one, but after looking at it, there was no issue with it. So got a lot of work to do, as well as fix the connector here. It's got quite a bit of corrosion, but we'll do all of this under the microscope. All right, so before I accidentally lose this little connector, I'm going to solder it back on because that's not something that's available for purchase. So still have to work on this connector. Obviously, there's got quite a bit of corrosion. That connector, these connectors look okay. Need to clean this one. A little corrosion in there. Need to replace this flex cable. It's missing the connector. But in the meantime, let's see if we can't solder this guy back on real quick. Line it on up. I'm just going to tack each one of these legs real quick. And then I'll come in from the side and we'll flow in this
the side. Let's take a look at the underside of this. I think what we've got going on is some oxidized. Yep. All right. The bottoms are oxidized. So I'm going to lower the temperature on my iron so that I don't melt the plastic. We're going to gently see if we can't scrape away the oxidation. Got my iron set at 200 right now. Flip this around. No wonder those pins weren't taking anything. All right. I think we're ready now to accept some solder. So let's flip this guy back over and see if now we can float this in place. Got my temperature back up to 300. That side's secure the outside. All right, now let's flow all of these pins. Make sure they're all making the good solid connections. And let's clean it up to see if we have any issues with that connector. It looks okay. I don't like that the solder hasn't really traveled up onto these 4 pins, so I'm gonna go in and touch those up one more time. There's solder there, but all right, I'm confident in that now. This connector is about the size of a short grain of rice. It's tiny. All right, let's turn our attention to the difficult one, which is going to be this connector because of all of the corroded pads. This is for the speaker. All right, I'm going to take a brand new number 11 razor blade. And this is going to be tricky because some of the pins there's actually very little metal left on them. But I need to scrape at the oxidized pads enough to, without damaging the pins, enough to accept some solder so we can get them to make contact. So like right here, you can see that if I scrape enough, I start to reveal the pad. But I just barely touched the pin and it snapped. So I have to be very careful. This is probably fine. Like that's not moving. This one looks pretty bad. Like a lot of this will just clean up with some flux and a little bit of solder. These 4 are all attached. These 4 are all attached. With some flux and some solder, that oxidation could clean up. Let's add a little bit of flux with the iron and see if we can clean up those edge ones. All right, let's clean up the area and see if we accomplished anything. All right, we'll clean it out gently with a brush and get inside those pins. It's amazing how small we're working. These are the bristles of a toothbrush. All right, it's hard to see, but there is some metal contact there between what's remaining of the pin. That one, although it's oxidized, it looks good. Cleaned out that area. Now it's time to replace the battery connector. First thing we need to do is gently lift up this sticker. I'll gently peel off the sticker. When we go to line this back up, we'll have those 2 little windows here to line up with the little squares that we're going to find under there. And we'll add a little bit of flux. All right, and we'll take our iron, and I'm going to carefully, slowly peel up the flex while the iron melts the solder and lets the solder through the through holes so that I can peel it up. I'm not forcing it. I'm just letting the tension of the cable and then the iron do the job. You really want to take your time with this, otherwise you might accidentally pull some pads. All right, and it's off. And if I have a torn connector in the future, but a good battery connector itself, technically I could reuse that flex. All right, so got my solder pads down there nice and pillowed up to receive the new battery flex. We'll line up the new battery flex, and you can see the little gold square there. That'll line up with the little crosshairs in the window. And we'll tack one side, make sure everything lines up in the other window. I need to move it up just a hair. Looks good. So we'll flow everything in place. Pulling the solder through those holes, using the flux that's already on the board, pushing down on the flex, making sure it goes all the way down to the board. And that flex is fixed. Go ahead and clean up the flux. Now, if you absolutely destroyed the sticker, you can just use some Captain tape to protect it. We'll put that sticker back. And now we have a new connector and everything's ready for testing. So let's go put it back together and see if we have a working watch. Actually, before we do that, we need to look at this connector. It is nasty. Let's add some alcohol to the corner there. And this connector looks like it's splitting from the flex, so I'm going to have to fix that. I wonder if this comes out the housing. It looks like this solder joint. Actually, if I move it, it looks like I can free it I'm actually going to try to extract this component because there's no way I'm going to be able to work on the connector from that angle. Alright, so I've got it clamped up in the vise there. Put some tension on the flex a little bit here, and boom. Yep, it came right up. Yeah, so it was just adhesive and that solder joint holding down the back, which is great. Let's flatten this out and take a look at this connector. Yeah, that needs some attention. So the back of this connector is metal, which means I can touch it with the iron and let the heat transfer through. So what I'm going to do is we'll clamp down on the flex so that it's exposed. Add a little bit of flux. Take the iron to the back, and we'll let the heat transfer through the flex up into the connector. And that way we'll clean some of the corrosion. Let's see if that was sufficient, because we might need to remove the connector itself, but that'll flow anything that is solderable back into place. Looks a lot better. Now let's see, how did the solder look? It's oxidized but intact. I'll still go in a little bit and touch up some of those pins. Alright, all of those pins look good. This grounding pad's probably important. I don't know for sure, but because it's so oxidized, I can tell it's not connected. So I'm just going to take the time to try to, yeah, I can see some movement there. I really want to make sure it's secured. That whole side is not making really good connection, so I think I have to make the decision to pull this guy off. So that's what we'll do. With the iron on the back now, the tweezer's kind of gently pushing down. Let the heat transfer through, and eventually all of the solder will melt. It should let this connector come off. There it is. Make sure we don't lose it. Set it right there for a little bit so I can keep an eye on it. And now you can see we have several oxidized pads. That one we can clean up pretty well. So much easier to fix the oxidation without a connector in the way. We got these two pads that look pretty bad. Alright, now that those are looking a lot better, let's clean up the area, and then let's gently flip over. Let's see if we can tin the underside as well. They're looking a lot better now. Alright, let's spread out a little bit of flux over the area. It just went flying. I'm going to have to find that. I found it. I am shocked that I found it. Took forever to find it. Oh man. Alright, let's line this guy up. And let's take the iron and let's flow it in place. Alright, I'm going to go around the edge and carefully tack each one. That's better. It's not into perfect alignment. That's much better. Go down in and touch each one of the legs. And let's clean up the flux. Alright, now we can solder this back in. We'll take the housing, put a little bit of flux down in on that point, line everything back up, and then we'll solder it back in place. Alright, that's in there. Looking good. It'll take some time to clean up a bit of the corrosion and rust, and also the frame. We'll get rid of all of the old adhesive, prep it for a new seal. Alright, so to recap everything we've done, we replaced the battery flex with a new one because of the damaged connector. We pulled, fixed, and resoldered this little connector for the antenna. We fixed the speaker connector, cleaned the other connectors as well. Down inside here, we fixed the adjacent connector there. There's still some surface corrosion and rust that I couldn't remove. That's more cosmetic than anything at this point. Due to the damage here, we're just not going to trust that old speaker. Besides, I think it's the failure point. So we'll replace with another one. And of course, due to the missing battery connector, we're going to simply replace the battery with a new one. Alright, so we're going to put it back together now. Go ahead and connect up the wireless charging unit and gently push the board back down inside. Line back up the bracket, and we'll put back all the screws. Get it nice and tight. We'll put back the other side bracket. I'm going to carefully fold down the two connectors that we fixed. Alright, now that that's clicked down, let's take a new speaker. We'll slide in the flex. Alright, now we'll connect up the Taptic engine. But before we screw that down, let's get that speaker screwed in. Alright, let's gently get everything back down. Alright, we'll put back the little GPS antenna. Alright, I don't know how, but I've misplaced the little Bluetooth flex cable. It was damaged anyway, but I thought I could repair the
damaged part, but I'm missing that teeny tiny piece that goes on top of it. But in the meantime, we can still get this back together for testing. That's what I'm going to do. Let's go ahead and reconnect up the flexes and put back the brackets and screws. So all we're missing to put back these screws is the Bluetooth flex cable. And let's see if my little jumper on the flex there that I had to run get this working. We'll go ahead and connect back up the display that also had that work done on the pin. We'll slide in the connectors. All right, so well, let's the moment of truth to see if everything so far has been worth it. Let's go ahead and connect up our battery. Won't install it all the way just yet, but all right, so now that the battery is connected, I don't know if it has any power to it yet, like if it's a dead battery, but let's go ahead and click the power button. That's no life. So I tried it on the charger. We got nothing. We even pumped out the potentially issue-causing Taptic engine and disconnected the speaker because of the damage there. I think what's happening, and I could be wrong, is the damage to the flex, even though I tried to fix it with the jumper. Isn't sufficient, or there's an issue with this display because of the damage there. Alright, so I've ruled out all of the other connectors, including the crown, power button. I am suspicious of the flex for the display here. Let me know in the comments below. At this point, would you give up or would you keep going? And what do you think it is? I'm going to go peek under the microscope real quick, but at this, as my solder job here, maybe it popped loose or something. But otherwise, let me know what you think in the comments below. Should I do a part 3? See if we can figure it out. But at least I've shown in this video how to replace corroded components and even reuse them when unavailable like these ones. So far we've done quite a bit of work on different connectors, different flex cables, but today we're going to take a look mainly at the display flex. I've already worked on it a little bit, but after looking under the microscope, I think I found the issue. And hopefully by the end of this video, we'll have a working watch. Let's get started. So this is what we're going to be installing today. This is the LCD flex cable for the Apple Watch Series 10 46mm. It's a fairly simple replacement, requiring a soldering iron, some flux, and additional solder. The method of replacing this is something that's repeatable on so many other devices. So today, we're going to go and install it and see if that fixes it. Let's go under the microscope. All right, so down in here, you can see we've got the flex cable, and this is what I found. So what you'll see is that I ran this jumper to connect this, but then I noticed we've got some charring on this line, and I think I have a break as well right here. So I could take the time to jump it, but although the solder getting on these things might just not be making good connection. Besides, some of these are pretty oxidized, and cleaning them is only going to remove these thin traces. So instead of trying to work on this more, let's do the easier method and just simply replace the whole thing. So we're going to first peel up the sticker. Grab it on the corner there. We'll lift it up, set it aside. And one of the things that we want to note is you can see these little X's here through the window there. And then there's these little 4 gold corners. There's a gold square under there, and that's how you line this up, because you otherwise wouldn't be able to, it'd be difficult to line up the solder joints here. Now I'm going to take some flux, and you can do this while in the housing if you want, or you can take the time to take out the motherboard, but I prefer doing it in the housing. And what I'm going to be doing is putting a teeny bit of tension on this flex cable as we take the iron to it. I'm going to get a clean tip, and we're going to come in and start to melt the solder through these through holes. And as we do this, the little amount of adhesive that holds down the flex here is actually going to let go. And we'll slowly move back and forth over the flex cable, keeping the heat consistent so we're not pulling up any of the pads. Got my soldering iron set at 275 right now. And we're basically just going to work this flex cable slowly up without damaging anything. If you're ever struggling to get it up, you can try turning up the temperature, or you can even add a wick. This will not only kind of absorb or suck up the solder, but it'll also increase the kind of the head of the iron. All right, that flex cable was getting in the way of me tugging on it because it comes in front of it. So I moved it out of the way. That should help clear things up. All right, now we finally got it off. What I like to do is come in with some solder. And what we're going to do is take the time to add some additional solder to all of the joints. That was a lot of flux. No matter. All right, and that looks really good. I'm going to take a Q-tip and we'll clean up the flux there. And we'll lay down some new flux. Not a whole lot, just enough. Now you can really see the two little gold squares. Now I'm going to take the new flex cable. We'll slide it in behind the other flex. That'll kind of help hold it in position while we solder it. And we'll push down and line up the golden squares. I'm going to take it out for a second and make a different bend in the cable. There we go. Now we can have a little bit more mobility down in there. All right, now we'll take the tweezers, push it down. We'll line up the windows after adding a little bit more flux to the top. All right, I'm going to line up the top one. It's near perfect, and I'll actually be able to now pivot off of that to line up the bottom one just a little bit. All right, now I can see the 4 little gold sections there around it, so I know that it's perfectly lined up. We'll tack it in place, and then I'm just going to go over the middle and push down and rub it back and forth, and now it's secure. You can see I've got plenty of the square showing on each one of those sections of the cross. So now I'm just going to run the soldering iron across all of the joints while pushing down nice and firm. Just like that. We'll do it one more time. And then I like to go back in, and anytime I see one of these little joints that doesn't have like a little pillow of solder on top of it, I like to hit it with it just in case. Those all look really good. Go ahead and take a Q-tip with some isopropyl alcohol on it, or flux cleaner you can use as well, and we'll clean up the area. I'll get out a new Q-tip and go over it again while rotating, and then I'll come in and dry the area with the dry end of the Q-tip. Now we can put back the sticker. All right, now we can go test it, and hopefully now it works. All right, and now we've replaced the old flex cable with some new ones. I'm going to go ahead and connect up these connectors here. We'll take the display and gently push in the new flexes into the ZIF connectors. We'll close down the little latches. Now we can connect up the battery, and let's see if we have any life. And we do. Look at that. It is coming on. Let's see if everything works when it comes on as far as the touch is concerned. While we wait for this to turn all the way on, maybe it needs to charge and that's why it's not coming on just yet. Sometimes they'll do that. We also got a new vibrator because I didn't like the way the old one looked. I got the little piece that I misplaced somehow. Well, it was also damaged, so it needed to be replaced. And do we have touch? We do. Does the crown work? It does. Power button. Everything looks like it's working just fine. All of the touches working just perfectly. Let's go ahead and get this watch all put back together with its new components. All right, we'll go ahead and get our new haptic engine out, as it's kind of hard to determine if this one is still good due to all of the oxidation that I can see. Go ahead and connect up the GPS antenna, which can be all sorts of awkward to connect. All right, now that that's connected, and we've got that one connected in the back for Bluetooth, we'll go ahead and slide in the haptic engine flex. All right, cover up with a sticker, accidentally unplug the GPS antenna and put it back. And I'm going to install the new one because maybe it'll snap better. Oh yeah, that felt like a much more solid click. All right, we'll push down the haptic engine, straighten out the little prong there. I hate how these sometimes get bent in packaging. And it's just kind of inevitable. They're so flimsy. And we'll put back one of the screws. We'll get out our Bluetooth antenna connection. And you can kind of see part of it stayed behind. Just all the little circuit
popped off, so we definitely needed to replace it. We'll line it on up, put back the screw, gently connect up the Bluetooth coax connector. We'll take the bracket for the power button area, take the little screw and put it into the frame. Take the slightly bigger one and put it on this side. And then I like to take a tool like this. There's several different types, but it'll spin off that adhesive that's really annoying to get off by hand. All right, makes quick work of that adhesive. Does kind of fling it everywhere though, depending on the model, but it's so much easier to do that. All right, last few steps. We're gonna go ahead and connect back up the display. And remember, we did do work on that one pin that was completely corroded. Had to run the smallest of jumpers to actually make it connect. I'm glad that worked. We replaced the display flex cables, the battery flex cable, the Bluetooth connector, the loudspeaker. Let's see, what else did we replace? The GPS small connector, the battery, and the Taptic engine. Quite a bit of work. Let me know in the comments below, is it worth going through all of that struggle to fix a device like this? This is a Series 10, so it's not like it's that old. I'm going to take this sticker as well. We'll stick it back on. And now we can finally connect up the battery. We'll take off the little sticker there. I'm going to connect the connector first. And now we'll put back the bracket and screw that hold down the Bluetooth antenna and the battery connector. Tighten it on down. Go ahead and turn it back on. It should boot up a lot quicker now that everything's connected. And then we'll check the touch one last time before closing up the watch. So let's see, we still have touch. You can actually hear the sound works. That was one of my concerns, obviously, with the speaker connector being all strange and corroded like that. But yeah, this watch is good to be sealed up. Let's go ahead and do my ultimate favorite test, which is the power button drag. This verifies that everything's working nicely. I don't see any issues with the display, touch, anything like that. So this watch is all fixed. We'll turn it off for now just to close it up. To close it up, I'm going to be using this cold press adhesive. I really enjoy this. Some feedback that I've gotten from people is that these tips like to kind of solidify, and here's the solution for it. I use one of these as a cap. If I have recently used it, it'll come out, but if it's not coming out, then I take this one, which is the one I previously used, and I reach in there with some tweezers and I grab a hold of the adhesive and I slowly pull. And what's really nice is if I'm patient enough, the whole thing will pop out just like that, leaving me with a clear, basically new nozzle. And you can see how this adhesive is. It's springy, doesn't get hard like a rock, which means that it's going to have the elasticity that the watch wants, and it's going to have that water resistance that I'm trying to get back to. So that way I could just take this one, we'll swap it out with the new one, and we can come in and pull this tube up, and then we can pipe out the exact amount that we want along the border here, getting in a nice consistent bead without leaving any gaps, giving this the best chance of surviving if it ends up ever going in water again, which hopefully they don't go diving with it again or swimming with it again. I'll move all the way around nice and slowly, not missing any spot, eating back up where we started. Make sure all of the little brackets line up, and we'll close up this watch just like so. Take a cloth, get a little bit of alcohol on there, and we'll go around and remove any of the squeeze out while it's still liquid. And to clamp this down, something as simple as a rubber band a bunch of times is going to be plenty to hold this screen down so it doesn't move at all while you can actually see it's pushed out some more adhesive while that adhesive dries. And then to store this, I'm just going to pipe out a little bit extra and push it in there. And then I'll cap off the end if I'm doing a bunch of watches. This one's good to go. And this watch is basically finished. After about a half an hour, I'd be able to take off the rubber bands You can leave it for a full 24 hours if you really want to, but it doesn't need it. And this Series 10 46 millimeter is all fixed. All right, now here's all the parts that we replaced. Now, obviously, that wasn't all the work that went into this, but this watch is looking brand new, working once again. Let me know in the comments below if you think it was worth it to put in all of this work to fix this Apple Watch. And there we go. It's all fixed, back up and running. There's obviously quite a bit of work that went into this, as I kept on finding more and more damage that needed to be corrected. And when it's all said and done, this watch looks brand new now and should function brand new as well, as we basically replaced a good portion of the interior components. It's got a new battery, which means it should last all day. There were a few moments where I was wondering if it was even going to come on, but we pushed through, got it working once again. Let me know in the comments below, was all of this work worth it? Make sure to like the video if you learned something. Subscribe for more future videos like this. And let me know in the comments below if there's something that you'd like to see in a future video. Thanks a ton for watching. We'll see you in the next video.